I believe that I have set us up to go live. Alan normally confirms that when he sees it for us, but I think it says that we are live for you to.
Yeah, it's on my screen too.
Okay, perfect. And I'm going to hit record. And Dominique, I am going to hush and let my mouth feel a little better and leave it all to you.
Yes, thank you, Magali. Feel better. Hi, everyone. Welcome to today's class. I'm so excited to have been passed the reins by Magali. Magali is on the line, but she is on what I like to call vocal rest as she maintains her physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health. So thank you, Magali, for passing on the reins. I am so excited to be at week 4 of our virtual event marketing playbook course as part of the Marketing Outside of the Box series. We are so excited to actually take a break today. I want everyone to kind of get in the mindset of when you were in school and your teacher wasn't in class, or maybe I know when I got excited in class was when the TV rolled into the classroom with the VHS at the bottom and the TV at the top, because it let me know that we were either going to take a moment to either watch a movie or just learn in a different way. So that's kind of what I want you to think of as we go through class today. We are learning in a different way. I also want to let everyone know that we will be talking about mental health. We'll also be talking about suicide and suicide prevention. So if that is something that is a trigger for you, or if it's something that's going to take you somewhere emotionally, I just want to kind of put that warning out there and just be mindful that we are going to kind of take a dive, and those are topics that will come up. So as you know, I love to have a class schedule so everyone can see what we're going to do today. So even though we are watching a movie, so to speak, we're having a substitute teacher or a different kind of lesson plan, we are still going to stick to a schedule as much as possible. So we will take a few minutes to talk about the schedule, talk about a few administrative things, and then we're going to step into our mindfulness moment, go into our lesson, take a quick coffee break, finish with our second lesson, and then have some closing remarks, question and answer, and class will be dismissed. So before we get started, if everyone could just take a moment and go into the chat box and please introduce yourself, be a little creative, let us know who you are, who you're representing, what you're coming here for. If there's a message you want to send me privately, feel free to do that as well, because we really do take a look at these comments. I know Alan usually makes an announcement that he is watching the comments on Facebook. Thank you so much, Alan. I appreciate your support. But please write comments, write questions so that we can get them answered. And today's class specifically is going to be in the mindset of like a review. So if there are any questions that you have from any of the lessons of this month, feel free to ask them in the chat box today. Before class, we emailed all of the presentations and all of the video recordings to everyone. So if you have not received that in your inbox, I will put my email in the chat box, and just send me a message and I'll make sure to send that message to you. All right. So just to give you a little bit about me, I am Dominique Bercy, a nationally ranked public speaker, so many other things, right? And we're not going to go through it all formally. It's on the screen for you to see. But I think I want to talk about how our experiences really have an effect on how we learn, but also how we teach. So as you can see, I've had a lot of different professions, and I'm sure many of you are like, oh my gosh, she's so young, how is it possible? But I was one of those kids that was always involved in multiple things at once. I always had more than one job. I always had some type of organization I was in, as well as some type of extracurricular activity or an honor society or something. We kept a very active house. The school I went to when I was younger, we didn't have a football team because we were not focused on athletics. We were academic athletes. That's what we kind of prided ourselves with. So I am a super nerd. Okay. I don't know how else to explain it, but I get into something and I dive in completely. So having this diverse background, I think really helps me speak to the balance of work and wellness, like workplace and wellness, because a lot of times when you are the CEO or when you are the one creating a business or the only one running a business or the leader of a team, there are so many hats that you have to wear. Wellness has got to be a part of your strategy. And I really took time to think about what we were going to talk about today and how we were going to make this a conversation that makes sense with planning a virtual event during a pandemic, right? Because we want to make all of this relatable, but also it's such a challenging time right now that I think sometimes we need to just have conversations to understand, right? So I guess my conversation is starting off with the fact that 3 of my 4 professions have been on the list of top professions that people commit suicide in. And Magley and I were having a conversation about this the other day, not because either of us have had any feelings of suicide or anything like that, but just because I really wanted to have a conversation about wellness. And I was like, Magley, I really want it to be marketing focused, but we really need to talk about the importance of the balance. And she was like, yeah, because, as event planners, I think in 2017, maybe there was a statistic or a report that came out that said event planners were number 4 on the top 10 industries where people are faced with suicide. And we were like, thank God that isn't our experience and that's not necessarily what our story is, but reading that and being a part of those industries, it makes you take a moment to think. And Magali said something that was so powerful. She was like, imagine the pressure of planning an event when you don't know how to plan an event. And I was like, oh my gosh, I don't think I would be able to do this, because Magali and I plan events for fun. We enjoy it. The pressure of putting something on, coordinating people, talking to vendors, negotiating contracts, those things are exciting for us. But I could only imagine how it would feel to be someone that makes, let me use an example. Barbara. Hi, Barbara. Okay, so Barbara is a regional director for CareNet Counseling, which is an affiliate of Wake Forest Baptist Health. Oh my gosh, how appropriate for me to pick that as an example. And she says that we practice spiritually integrated mental health counseling. I promise I did not pre-pick that. That is so wild that that's the one I picked, but so appropriate. Let's say Barbara is planning a virtual event where she is going to bring some practitioners together, and they're going to talk about how you can integrate mental health counseling into your everyday mental health wellness routine or your business plan or something like that, right? And Barbara, if you want to unmute yourself and save me from this floundering, you can. But I kind of want to use you as an example for finding the balance between work, workplace, marketing, event planning, and also respecting mental health and where we're going as a society with this conversation.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Thank you for unmuting.
Good, because sometimes technology is not the best.
Yes.
What is your question?
Yeah, I know it was layered. Well, first of all, thank you for being a tribute. That's what I like to say whenever I choose someone to volunteer. Thank you for being a tribute. But the question I was that I'm getting to is how we can balance the conversation of mental health and even understanding some industries are high stress, like event planners. And there are things that we need to kind of prepare in order to plan work. But in this class, we're talking about events. So the question is, actually, there is no question now that I think about it. I think it's more of a statement. And I think I was just bringing you into the conversation as an example.
Okay, let me just say a couple things.
Yes, please.
We are we're an affiliate of Wake Forest Baptist Health, and we get no funding from them, but we do get in-kind services like
Okay.
human resources, IT work, and there's a lot is provided to us. However, our costs, because we see people from all walks of life and don't like to say no to anybody, so we have to fundraise for about 20% of our total budget so we can allow our clients to come to us and use a client assistance if they are uninsured or underinsured, which a lot of folks have insurance these days, but the copay is maybe $80, $85, and they still can't afford it. So we have to do some fundraising on there. I'm not a counselor, I'm an administrator. However, it is an interesting line to walk, trying to have events or any type of fundraising really for mental health, just because we, from an ethical standard, we can't feature stories about our clients. So
Okay.
that's something I'm throwing out there.
Okay.
Barbara. We would love to do a virtual event. We'd love to have some of the clients that we've helped on that virtual event, and most of our counselors will agree that it is against their ethics, their ethical code in their licensure, to even approach their clients about offering their story.
Okay. Wow.
And I don't mean to drop a big thing on you.
No, this is what today's class is for. And I have to be honest, this is the perfect example. And if you don't mind, I would like to take the information that you have just said and kind of use it to work through one of our lessons for today. And then even bigger than that, I think as a head nod or an acknowledgement to one of my idols, Issa Rae. She always recommends that people network across instead of networking up. I want to talk to you offline about working with you to plan your first virtual event, because I think there is an opportunity to do exactly what you're saying is a problem. And it sounds a little like drama filled, when you think about the part of the spirituality, but then having a sponsor that maybe speaks to one specific spiritual practice, but then also acknowledging that there are people that maybe don't practice that faith. And how do you approach that from a marketing standpoint? So I'm super, super interested in this. So definitely send me an email so that we can connect, but I'm so excited to use that as an example for a class today, if it's okay with you.
Yeah, that is fine. And really the spirituality part, I would say that we do professional psychotherapy, and we integrate a person's individual spirituality, whatever that may be. It's not a religious thing necessarily, but we meet people where they are to help use those strengths that they have to help them heal. So I would say that if we were to put it in an order, or maybe it's equally psychotherapy with spirituality, but it's not spirituality first.
Oh my God. Well, thank you for that clarification. I appreciate it. And okay, let's see what I can come up with. knowing all of that information. And again, we won't go too deep because I want to make sure that all this information applies, since we have so many people from so many industries, and I represent someone that has worked in a professional setting in so many different industries, that I understand having to have synergy in messaging. So for those of you that are not aware, this course is here to help you build your event marketing strategy as part of your millionaire marketing strategy. So I am going to help you kind of explore not only virtual events, but how you can apply some of these principles to in-person events and vice versa. This course is for everyone at every level, but specifically for marketers, business owners, and event planners. We are really, really focused on innovation in my organization, and I'm sure in the partnering organizations. So I wanted to be committed to talking about technology and how to get technology on your side. With today's conversation, some of the things that I have to show you are really off the wall and exciting, but I think it's something to kind of consider as a CEO and a business owner. We're also going to always talk about the impact that we're making with our communication. And just so everyone's aware, this is a 4-hour course, but the month of September actually has 5 Wednesdays. So we're going to take this Wednesday and make it a Wellness Wednesday. And we will be incorporating marketing information. But again, we're really focusing on your wellness as you plan your first virtual event. So just so we're aware, the National Suicide Prevention Week just passed. I believe last week or the week before was this week. So you may have seen more conversation about suicide in the industry. Like I mentioned, Magali and I had a few conversations and just talked about how we have reached historic highs before COVID-19. So as we think about kind of where we're going and being mindful of all the marketing that we do during the pandemic, we need to really be compassionate and just think about how everyone doesn't want to do everything at this time. So when we create events, when we market and promote things during such a challenging time, we need to kind of be abreast on what's happening as a society, to remember the communication and the impact that we're making, and making sure that in our playbook, in our communication plan, in our cause marketing, all of these are terms that we've talked about in the last few weeks, that we are just being very thoughtful and forward thinking and progressive. I mentioned a lot of times that I am the millennial representation in most things I do, and I really enjoy being at the crossroads of being able to translate. I speak to baby boomers very well. I speak to Gen Xers, Gen Ys, and so on very well. And I think it's very important that when we talk about understanding virtual events, when we talk about understanding what we're putting on and reviewing the things that we're going to review, we also talk about our understanding of what we're doing and the impact it's going to have on the people that are watching. So that's going to kind of segue us into the beginning of the conversation of review of our marketing playbook. So since we're having a more casual class, I do want to give everyone a chance to kind of think of any questions that you may have, put them in the chat box, but I'm going to kind of ask Barbara to unmute her line if possible. And we're just gonna have a quick, maybe 10-minute conversation reviewing the lessons that we've talked about. And really, I just wanna hear what your hesitation is with creating your virtual event playbook. And if you haven't started actually documenting it, you don't have to kind of say that, but let's assume that you have your pen in hand and you're ready to kind of get started.
Well, I might not be the best person for this because this is the first time I've signed on.
Oh, no, it's perfect. We're gonna just do it together then. Is that okay?
Sure.
Okay, so the first thing that we talk about when we're planning an event is understanding who we're talking to, what we're trying to tell them, and how we can somehow increase brand awareness or sales, right? I know you mentioned having a fundraising effort, so I'm going to keep that in mind. I'm also going to keep in mind some of the information you told me about the organization. But really, I need to know, if you were to put on a virtual event 3 to 6 weeks from now, what do you think you could host? So 3 to 6 weeks from now is what, December,
December?
right?
No,
No, November?
well, we're only in September.
Okay, so let's say we're planning something for November.
November sounds good.
Yeah. So off the top of your head, what do you think you could talk about in 40 minutes that would make people more aware of what you are, what you represent as an organization, and maybe donate?
I think that we would probably want to do I'm sorry, I'm like brainstorming off the top of my head here.
Yeah, we're doing, this is,
Okay, free thinking, okay?
yeah.
I think in 40 minutes, what we would like to accomplish would be, and we have this idea to do this virtual fundraising event, so the timing is perfect that we go through this. It would be good for us to, in short, whether it's video snippets or stories or something, share our mission and values of what we do at CareNet. So that's one thing.
Okay.
The other thing I think that we'd like to get across is that we're still here doing a lot of counseling. Things, changed so much with the pandemic, so we were able to pretty quickly pivot to online counseling.
Okay.
Which is interesting. I guess we do probably about 80%. We are still seeing some clients in person with social distancing and masking. However, about 80% is through WebEx or DoxyMe, which are two safe platforms for private information. And so, we've pivoted to that, and where at the beginning it was, and it's still pretty exhausting. It's just harder for counselors to be online versus being in person because there's a lot going on.
Okay.
We just like to communicate that, we're still doing what we've always done. We're just doing it in a different method.
Okay.
And we're still trying to reach folks of all, like I said earlier, I think all walks of life, from those who have the funding to pay privately for counseling, to those who have commercial insurance, to those who have Medicaid or Medicare, and to those who have no insurance and that find themselves in a place where they can't afford it.
Okay. All right. So I think that with that, you could definitely build some type of conversation around those main topics. So just listening and kind of doing what I do with my clients. So what we just kind of heard is what I like to call, I actually call it a manifestation meeting in my business, because I like to hear what my clients are saying. What is their pain point and what are they trying to communicate? And what I could hear was, I think you could have a successful event where you communicate what the organization is, and maybe even use short story testimonies from maybe staff members or different people that make up the team of the organization. Like maybe pick 1 or 2 people to do a quick introduction and maybe share the mission and values. And then you could even go deeper into some of the offerings that you have, and then talk about the safety, the privacy of the platforms. And essentially, you would be inviting people that are insured or uninsured. So I said everything you said very quickly with clear direction.
Yes, you did. And honestly, we are so busy with getting new clients and so forth. We probably need whoever our audience is, which I'm thinking donors across the state. We need them to support us more than we need new clients. I just want to say that out loud.
Ooh, okay. I will write that down and put an asterisk by it because
we don't want to set up a situation where we're saying, I mean, we want people to come to us, and people will come to us, and they are coming to us. But I think our biggest message is that we need support to help those people that are coming to us that are. Does that make sense?
It does. And thank you for sharing that, because what it did for me as a marketer listening to you, it let me know that we have to add somebody to our target audience, right? So when we talk about our audience, when we talk about who we're talking to, who is supporting us, who we are emailing, we've already had the conversation of we're talking to specific people at a specific time. So adding the information of you're more focused on donor support than new clients is helpful, because then when you're setting up your communication plan for the event to say, hi, whoever we're having this event, you can change your messaging so that it speaks specifically to the impact of donating. So then, then your messaging is more about the donation aspect. You're getting people ready to understand that we're talking about fundraising. We're talking about the importance of the dollars, and we're going to kind of layer that theme in our virtual event, in our messaging, in our marketing. So thank you for adding that.
Dominique?
Yes.
I know I shouldn't be talking, but I couldn't help myself. I'm getting so excited listening, right? I put a question in the chat, and I just kind of wanted to ask it because I'm sure Barbara haven't seen it. Is it okay if I jump in and ask it now for Barbara?
Sure.
So Barbara, I heard you say that you can't share your client stories, and I understand that, but is it also that your clients are unable to tell their success stories with you? Is that also prohibited?
I think we collect client stories, and it just gets really sticky when we share those in a large forum.
Right.
And honestly,
sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead, Magali.
One thing I really liked, sometimes we will. This sounds really strange, but we'll kind of combine a couple clients that we've had success with into one kind of
yes, like one character.
Yeah, into one character to try to be so specific.
So
mental health is a really private thing, and so many, even if we have permission from the client, I know the hospital privacy office and like I said before, the code of ethics of our counselors make people really wary of that. So I love the idea of having, a couple counselors kind of tell somewhat guarded stories from their perspective, so it doesn't give enough information that it would reveal to the client.
Also, Barbara, as it pertains to the playbook, this is only a 40-minute event. So if you think about all the information that you need to share with people in 40 minutes, there's not much detail that you will have to really go into as it pertains to something that you're hosting virtually. So, and I wanted to interject because I love this type of conversation that I'm hearing from you, Barbara, because this is when I know my client is tuned in, they're engaged, and I'm ready to talk marketing to you. Because now you're saying, oh, wait, okay, yeah, there are these people, there are these things that we can do. Now it sounds like you could plan a virtual event series, because there sounds like there are more pieces of the conversation that need to be had in this 40-minute format. So before we get too grand, I want to stick to the practice of the playbook and kind of working through that rough draft. Okay, I'm going to brainstorm on my own, but let me make sure I have the foundation for what to do with all that information. So what we were talking about right then and there, what Magali brought up and asking if you could use people and kind of figuring out how to work through the politics of that, I want to suggest that you look up something called persona marketing. Persona marketing. I'll write it in the chat group for anyone else that wants to look it up. But that is marketing. That is $1 million marketing strategy. I'm telling you, consultants get paid so much money to go into organizations and help them develop their persona marketing strategy. Essentially, that is a strategy that you develop based on your audience that allows you to create like hybrids of your audience so that you can sell stories, right? So you might have Marianne on the cover of the magazine, but really Marianne is a model that poses and does stock image photo shoots. And she sells her photos because that's part of her life. And now that your organization has purchased that photo legally, and Marianne has essentially given permission for her face to be used, you can create a name, you can create a story, you can create everything you need to as an example that allows you to protect everyone. It also allows you to have an identity that you can run with across all of your marketing channels and platforms.
That sounds really good. I apologize, but I didn't realize I was going to be so involved in this discussion. I have to take a phone call real quickly.
Okay. Well, you're going to take a phone call.
I'm going to mute myself, but I'm still going to be here.
Okay. And we're going to keep talking because I think we've gotten to a good point with information where we can now start actually getting some work done and kind of working through what we do with this at this point, because enjoy your call, and you can watch the rest of the video recording and kind of get everything. But what we're going to do after we take our coffee break in just a moment is we're going to take all the information that Barbara shared with us so willingly. Thank you so much, Barbara. And we are going to create a 40-minute event, and we're going to do high level. This is what I should have written down on a piece of paper, because for the last 2 weeks of September, we are going to be working through our marketing plan in class. So there was a plan and a strategy to making sure the presentations and the videos have been shared up until this point. So as a reminder, if you have not received it in your email, please let us know, because we are about to go into Turbo Drive in order to get our event plan book, our event playbook up and running, so that everyone on this call could plan an event in the next 3 to 6 weeks and have something to speak to and say, I took this amazing class with this beautiful, amazing, funny, talented teacher, and we got so much work done that I was able to do this thing. And then we're going to enter 2021, with a new achievement. So that's kind of my goal and my gift to you. So we're going to take a little coffee break at 1:05. We are 5 minutes behind schedule, which is okay. We're going to make up the time. But I'm just going to take a moment to hydrate, which I do every class. And I'm going to talk about what I'm hydrating with. And then, Alan, if you wouldn't mind, if you could kind of go through some of the comments and see if there are any questions that pertain to the lesson, not necessarily specific questions per person, but if there's a question that maybe we could answer in our coffee break. We can kind of get a drink and take a breather.
Well, one question was how to hire you. So I put something in the chat with the person who's gonna, the name of the person who's gonna reach out to you on either Facebook or LinkedIn.
Oh,
That's
thank
number
you
one.
so much.
And the other conversation in the chat, Magley addressed a couple of the questions. A lot of the folks are introducing themselves. So that's great conversation going on. Let me mention, while you're taking your break, everybody, I wanna give you a heads up to a couple things that are going on. Lorena and I are on, we're part of a group called the Entrepreneurial Advisory Board, and we are going to give you a sneak preview of something that's going to come. I know this is being recorded and it's on Facebook Live, but oh well, it's a secret only you all know about. And that is, next week, there will be an announcement of some grant funding that will be available to minority-owned businesses in Forsyth County, North Carolina. So sorry for those of you who are not here, but I want you to celebrate with us that efforts are being made to make more capital available. And at the same time, next week or sometime next week, there will be an announcement about capital being made available for Black-owned businesses throughout North Carolina. So stay tuned for these announcements and others that will come, not just here in Forsyth County in North Carolina, but all over the nation, because we're glad that a lot of generous people are coming together and finding out how to increase the resources, financial and otherwise, to hardworking business owners like all of you who joined us today.
Oh my goodness. Alan, what a way to stop the show with checks or access to funding. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing.
Well, there's a need all the time, and this pandemic has certainly introduced more reason for the need. So anything that any of us could do to support all of you, money and otherwise, we want to make ourselves available to you.
Oh my goodness. Well, thank you. If anyone has any questions or needs more information, Lorena and Alan, if you could let us know how to get in touch with you, that would be amazing. And to answer the first question of how to hire me, in the email that I sent everyone, I actually included a link. I did a few things that we talked about in our email marketing course, just so you could see what it looked like. But I hyperlinked my name. And I hyperlinked it so that you could click my name and it would go directly to the page where you can schedule time to talk to me as far as working with me. So as students, of course, you can email me and ask me questions and we can communicate that way. But if you wanted to work with me in order to have me set up either your email marketing system or develop a strategy for you, that's how you would do that. So just to answer those two questions. And if I could quickly take a moment to just tell you what I am about to prepare for my coffee break, because we have a couple minutes and I have a few things I want to go through. But every class I like to sip on tea or coffee or something, just because, you know, I used to work in restaurants for a really long time, and there really is something special about drinking and eating with people. So I always try to sneak in a snack or a beverage. I know that's like silly, but it's something I really do incorporate. It's also part of my wellness practice. So right now I'm just having some tea. None of these people have paid me for anything, but this is just the tea that I have at home. So anti-stress tea and a peppermint tea. So I'm mixing it in my little tea kettle thing. And of course, my little boss lady glass. I love using my mug. And then I've been using a stress ease tincture. This is a tincture from an herbalist that I know in Atlanta. So these are just subtle ways that I sneak in those buffers that I always talk about. So I have my herbal tincture, I have my herbal tea. So this is like supercharged herbal hot beverage, you know, that today is fall officially. So I always increase my hot waters, my citrus, my whatever my grandmother told me I should consume to have optimal health. So I'm not putting pressure on anyone. I'm just sharing my story. But I like to drink a lot of hot tea. I think it's a way for me to pause as a teacher. It's a way for me as a businesswoman to just take a moment and say, okay, what's happening? And just kind of recalibrate. So I just wanted to share that as I pour my beverage. And we have a few more minutes on our coffee break. So I just wanted to talk about a few other ways that I have technology. Okay, so that was a shout out to grandmas and like our elders that give us those home remedies for wellness, right? And
Dominique,
yeah,
before you talk about the technology,
okay.
I want to make two comments. Which the first one is, I just want to, she had to leave. She just stepped out, and she wants us to send her the information. But Adriana brought up a point when you were talking to Barbara that I think I would want it to be shared for those listening to the recording later, since they can't see the chat. And, you know, when I asked a question to Barbara about, you know, could her clients tell the story, Adriana brought up the point that, you know, it's important for her to realize that she's doing a fundraising event, and that her organization isn't the focus, but the donors and the people she said and the clients are the focus. So I thought that was very important to say, and to make sure that, you know, when we do the next 15 minutes of what you have planned, that people think about that their type of event, because you would manage a fundraiser, even though it's still an event, completely different than I would do a party or something, you know?
Right.
And then the second thing that I wanted to say, I want to say this on recording because then it forces both you and I to make sure that we do it. But Adriana, Barbara, and Brooke have all asked for us to send the recording today to them because all three of them had to step out or mute for one reason or the other.
Okay.
To make sure that we send it today. So I know if we say it, we'll make sure that we do it. So I'm purposely saying it to hold ourselves accountable.
Oh my goodness, Magali, thank you for that, because I have been running into so many issues with technology over the last couple of weeks that I literally was like, you know what? I'm just going to send the email in Gmail because my automation system is running me through the ringer. And it's really because they have grown so large that now it takes longer to get in touch with somebody from customer service so they can click the button to make the thing work. So, you know, a new day, but same challenges. So thank you, Magali, for that interjection and that accountability moment. Yes, we are going to go into the fundraiser conversation. And Adriana, that was an amazing, amazing interjection and reminder of who we're doing our event for and the impact that we're making when we do our events. I think that was an excellent way for us to segue into our lesson after this quick wellness interruption. So one thing I am very big on is my air quality. In my house, I live in a basement apartment, so the air, you know, it changes. I have very sensitive allergies. Again, a nerd. So I am very advanced with my technology. So I actually just got a humidity reader. So this is just a little digital gadget that I got from Amazon, and it reads the humidity in the air, because if it ever gets too humid, I need to be prepared to prevent any mold or, you know, I like to keep a nice, beautiful house with flowers. So I need to like keep the air quality right. I have a lot of plants. So I don't know if you could see back here, but I have a pothos plant and I have a snake plant and I have an aloe plant. So a lot of just greenery to make me feel like I'm in a spa. And then another gadget that I picked up recently is a humidifier, just because the weather is changing and I have to be ready to either increase humidity or decrease it. So those are just some kind of quick, innovative, technological pieces of my CEO toolkit that I always keep on hand. And honestly, whenever the weather changes in the fall, not only do I pull out my coats and change my fashion, I also think about how well I'm going to maintain my health which includes sleeping, which includes so many things that we'll talk about.
And I love what Mona just shared to your technology tips today. I keep jumping in and I'm supposed to be quiet. I'm so sorry.
Be quiet, but it's okay.
Mona just shared that air quality can also be improved with plants. Plants can purify air, as you know. And she shared that NASA has done research, and the research is available on this. And you all can scroll up in the chat to see what Mona does and what she offers the world with her business.
There are so many wellness businesses in this group. I'm really amazed by that, because that's my favorite client, to be honest. I love working with wellness brands because it's something that is necessary in any industry, and really it can be marketed to anyone. So it's one of those things that's very, in my mind, it's very relatable. So I just love learning about new wellness organizations and how people are bringing the message of being well to the world. So we're going to talk about our wellness plan, but because we have a virtual playbook that I want to really get into in the next 2 weeks, I want to take a moment to literally talk through the example that we heard so that we can kind of make the next steps. So I think it's important that when we're writing down our answers to the lessons previous, as well as reviewing who we're doing an event for, what we're trying to say, and how we're going to say it, which those are really the big burning questions of any event. I think it's clear that Barbara's organization needs to have an introductory conversation, because I don't know that there are enough ways for her audience to get to know them, right? So when we talk about our website, when we talk about our social channels, those are all ways that people can get to know us. But events, whether virtual or in person, are ways for people to engage with us. That's how they get to know our personality. That's how they get to know what we're selling, who we work with, and who we're talking to. So I want us to go back to the lesson that we talked about in email marketing, courting our audience. And remember, we are dating the people in our audience. We are trying to get to know them, and not in a snake salesman kind of way. We're trying to go on a nice virtual, socially distant date where we pick a 40-minute movie that we're going to watch together. And in that experience, you're going to get to know more about me. I'm going to know more about you. And then we'll have some hot tea, and then we'll get off the phone, because 40 minutes is more than enough time to get to know each other and then leave me wanting more, right? Because we're courting our customers and our supporters. So I heard her talk about 3 main informational points. So as you think of your organization, your brand, your event, your message, what are 3 things that you can talk about 5 minutes each? You only have 5 minutes to talk about that topic. What are you saying? What is most important? Who is the best person to say what you're saying? Okay. Those 3 points are going to be the meat and potatoes of your event and your presentation. So again, remember, we are brainstorming. This playbook is to get our juices flowing. So don't put too much pressure on yourself. But also, those 3 points at some point in your plan, you will pour into, you will grow them. You will make them a little more substantive, because even if you only have 5 minutes to talk about it, you should be able to continue that conversation moving forward, right? Remember, this is just an introductory date. We have 40 minutes. We are not trying to marry you right now in this moment. No, it's just okay, I see you. I like this thing you're talking about. I want to learn more. Thank you for giving me this information. So once we have those 3 points, Then we're going to go into the persona. Who are we talking to? Now, I know that we're talking to people that need counseling because they need to know that these services are available, because the service offerings was one of the 3 points, right? So I know that that is part of my target audience. But Barbara made it very clear that uninsured and insured are 2 different categories. And we know that you have to speak to people with insurance and people without insurance in different ways. And I'm talking high level. I'm not talking about your personal bias of people with and without insurance. I'm talking about, in this message, we need to say, we take these insurance companies as an example. But in this message, we need to say, even if you don't have insurance, or even if you don't have enough insurance, because that is something that Barbara said, it's for uninsured, it's for underinsured, and it's for insured. So that's a way to kind of put put information down under that, like, who am I talking to category, in a very tactical way. Marianne's demographic of people that she's talking to might not fit that exact insured, uninsured, underinsured, but there might be something that Marianne can say, okay, well, when I'm having my event, I'm talking to these people because that's the service that we provide. But also, because this is a fundraiser, I'm talking to other businesses. I'm talking to big dollars. And in this particular message, I'm going to say this. So that, when you think of target audience, when you think of persona, when you think of identifying who you're talking to, take it that far. And then I would also say, like Magali brought up and like Adriana reminded us, this event is a fundraiser. So the call to action, which we talked about last week, the call to action in our email, the call to action on our landing page, the call to action in our Gmail communication to our family and friends, the call to action in our text message is donate. It is also register for the virtual event. Absolutely. That would be what you need for the RSVP. But the long tail goal is donate. So keep all of those things in mind as you work through your wellness. As you work through your virtual playbook. Again, let us know if you did not receive the email. We will send it out again. We will also be sure to post the video today, post the presentation today, and give you a good week to kind of get your plan brainstorm out of your head onto your playbook, so that next week when we start our operations and we are literally walking through the tools that I use when I host virtual events, when I'm walking you through that event, you'll be right there with me and you'll be able to ask any question, or you'll have time to kind of think on it and then finish the month off strong, because everything we're going to do in September is going to set us up for what Magali and I have planned for marketing out the box down the pipeline for the rest of the year. So I'm not going to tell you anything else, but I am going to tell you that all of this strategy is going to connect. So take the time, get your tea, light a candle, take a little, do this with your feet up. Like, don't stress about it, because this is the fun part. This is the part where you can imagine and you can dream and you can manifest the event that you want before you have to deal with technical difficulties. So before we hop off, I just want to talk about your wellness plan and kind of put this in your head as you put on the CEO or event planner or marketer or student cap. What is your wellness plan? Are you getting enough sleep? That is something that I ask my clients to ask themselves. I don't want you to tell me your personal business, but are you getting enough sleep? Especially before an event, I make sure that I get a solid 8 hours of sleep, because most of the time my anxiety is going to keep me up for 2 of those 8 hours. So I think about my sleep. I think about hydration. I keep the water nearby before an event, during, after. That's included in virtual events. Make it a plan to have your water with a straw and with ice if that's your comfort level. Make a plan to have your hot tea readily available. Set up your area. Set up your workstation as if you were going to have an in-person event. These are all things that should be a part of our regular strategy. Personally, I added two things that I love. I love nature, so the incorporation of plants, making sure your background is appealing. I think that's something that Lorena mentioned she's testing out with her virtual backgrounds, which I love this one today. It's so official and regal. It looks like it could be either Parliament or it looks.
It's our official White House.
Oh, it's beautiful. So the official White House of which country?
It's called La Moneda in Santiago of Chile. Is where the president works. He doesn't live there like our White House here, but that's where he works. Or
Oh my gosh.
Well, don't work that much these days.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that tidbit of information. And for those of you that don't know, a few weeks ago, Lorena told us that she's trying a few things for her virtual event. And one of the things she's trying is a virtual background. So thank you for sharing that tidbit of information. But like I was saying, I enjoy nature. I like making my background incorporate some of my plants. And I love a spa day. I make it an obligation to get a massage after every in-person event that I do, because the wear and tear on your body as an event planner, that is the least that I told myself a long time ago. I always schedule the day after an event. I have a massage because sometimes I can't take the day off.
So one thing that I've learned, Dominique, and as we're talking about virtual events, and as you all know, last week, Mona was there as well, but as you all know, last week I was not really here because I was doing a virtual event. But even with the marketing outside the box, doing them virtually now, but a more heavy lifting virtual event like last week, I find that spa days are still necessary the day after. And though that looks a little different for me than it did in the past when I did in-person events, I still realized that I needed that day of rest the day after a virtual event. Like I still needed to do nothing. I needed to lay in the bed. I needed to just woo-saw. So to Dominique's point, make sure you plan that into your virtual event experience.
Yes. And to be honest, this is something that our industry talks about very often, the balance of wellness and workplace. And I mentioned that I do HR strategy as well. It's a conversation that's happening, and it's a conversation that is being forced on us, whether we like to or not. And that's why I gave the warning of the sensitive content. That's why I let people know this is what we're going to talk about. This is something that doesn't directly affect me, so I don't want anyone to be worried, but this is a conversation that we are having. And it's something that, we can look at in many different ways. So I'm just going to quickly run through a few things that we have planned for you in the future. So as you set your goals to measure your success, I want you to know that I set a goal to help you develop a millionaire strategy. So I am calling on some of my millionaire friends. And by millionaire, I say that we have helped develop millionaire campaigns. So I have a friend that was featured in Forbes magazine who is a retail consultant and instructor. I have, I work with a graphic designer and art designer that has designed a product that has gotten a lot of notoriety and a lot of awareness. And then I also have a friend that is a data scientist that has worked with some of the major organizations and done market research. And they all are excited to speak to us over the next couple weeks about how we can use some of our strategies to help build your business and build your strategy. And the resource for this week is going to be the suicide hotline. If you or anyone that you know is struggling with depression or has thoughts of harming themselves, just take time to send this to them. I know that we all don't have the information we need to have these conversations, but I do think it is part of my duty to share the resources that are available and allow you to share them to the people that need them. And if we don't have any questions.
Well, before we take questions, if we have any, I don't know that we do, but before we take questions, I wanna repeat two things that Dominique said, but I want to make sure that the dots are connected and everyone got it. The first being that, well, let me first clarify. I know Dominique keeps saying 2 more weeks. There's 1 more week in this series, so she means taking the rest of this week and having next week for the final part of the series. So that's what we mean by the 2 weeks.
Sorry.
So that no, I just want to make sure that they're not confused when we say that. And then next week, so what Dominique was talking about, next week we're really encouraging you to come with an event in mind. Like she said, take some time and don't overthink it, but truly have an idea of a virtual event that you want to do. And what we're thinking, we'll do is, as many of you as we can within that 1 hour time frame, we'll probably give you 3 to 5 minutes to share with us your virtual idea, and we'll provide some of the feedback. For some of you that were with us back in July and we did the marketing audits, imagine a shorter version of the marketing audits. So it would be your virtual event, keeping in mind what your marketing plan is for that virtual event, because that's probably where we're going to give you the most feedback. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that was understood, because I know she said it, but I don't know if it clicked with everybody. And then no problem. And then the second thing that I wanted to say has left my mind. Can you go? Oh, I remember. Dominique shared a slide about 2 slides ago with the Millionaire Expertise folks. And that's just to kind of prepare you for what you're going to get from us in October. So I didn't want to confuse that for you for next week. So that's to prepare you for our October Marketing Outside the Box, and you'll get more information about that next week. But those are just some things to look forward to, and some of the goals that we have to make sure that you all are as prepared as you can be as we enter the 4th quarter of 2020, which has been a very interesting year, as we know. But we've thought through this, and we think we have 1,000,001 ways that you can make this year work for you as we come to the close of the year. But with that, any questions about anything that was shared today? And if you haven't received from Dominique the presentations from before, just send her an email. Her email address is in the chat, and we'll drop it both on Facebook, and we'll drop it in the chat again just so you have it. But if you did not receive it, just send her an email and let her know that for some reason you didn't get it, but you should have it in your inbox. So yeah.
And Magali, if I could just make one more little kind of push for creativity, and just do a little bit of a tiny testimony. I know we are 4 minutes over, so if anyone needs to hop off, I understand and I won't be offended, but I just have like a quick little tidbit I want to give as a moment of encouragement. Can I do it now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I know we're talking about thinking outside of the box, and I decided that I would share a vulnerable moment with you as a teacher to kind of give you the power to move forward with impact and intention. As I mentioned, I really have been thinking about how mental health affects not only my community, but also people my age. And I worked on a passion project for my birthday last year. I have this interesting tradition where every year for my birthday, I want to create something for other people as a gift. I'm a Leo, call it what it is. But last year I decided to publish my first journal. And I published a journal. It's actually an affirmation journal for Black men. And I wrote it because at the time I was working with a team of Black graphic designers and just amazing tech men. And they all happened to be Black. And on one of our kind of staff outings, we got into this really interesting conversation about how they heal. And it was so interesting to see that the way I kind of went through my healing process and the way they did were so significantly different. So I secretly went and designed a journal and wrote it and published it. And it's one of my top selling books. And it's always been my secret. I actually didn't tell anyone about it until it started making money because I was so nervous. And one day, one of the guys on the team happened to be in my house and he saw the book and he said, "What is this?" And I said, "Oh, I published a book a year ago." So I say all of that to say, don't let anything hold you back from trying something new, because now I have a new skill. And now that people have seen this, I have to start promoting it. And it's really nerve-wracking because I've always done work for other people, but I've never done marketing work for myself. So I'm in this boat with you all. I'm actually planning a virtual event myself. So we will share our notes in our next class. And I just want to encourage you to think big, and you never know who you're impacting. And you never know how your idea for telling men how to write their affirmations down could be a bestseller. So that's it.
Thank you for sharing that, Dominique.
Welcome.
I mean, that was very vulnerable, and she's telling the truth, guys. I'm one of her closest friends, and I found out about this book. Was it last month? I was like, what? You have a book?
She was like, what? I was like, yeah. And it's doing really well because the pandemic, I didn't realize this was going to happen. And like, now a lot of men are getting into this healing journey, and I think I got to promote it now.
So before we exit, are there any questions that anybody have that we did not address? I know it's 7 minutes after, but if not,
I had a question, everybody. I wanted to ask, could this be a master class or a class?
So if I could answer that question, Magali.
Yeah, please.
So to be honest, this course was me. I created this course for Marketing Out of the Box because I knew that there was a need to have this conversation at this level. But to be honest, I am developing a master series. It's actually an 8-week series that is going to take an even deeper dive and look into all the things that we've been talking about. And it's actually going to function the way the next week is going to function. So it's not going to be me just lecturing and giving you information. It's going to be me saying, okay, last night you got an email, or a week ago you got an email. This was the assignment. What are the updates? Let's get some questions. So I'm developing the structure for it now because I already have, I've been testing it with a small group just to make sure all my operations were working. And I already have those 10 people that are ready. So I'm figuring out how to make it more available. So I'll definitely let you know of anything I do outside of Marketing Outside of the Box. But then also for the rest of the year, I will be working with Magali and everyone to kind of keep giving you more knowledge, at least.
No, I meant, could the event be a program or a master class?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
What we're now, it's going to be high level. So you would have to break it down a little more in order to make it the masterclass series. But it's just like when I mentioned to Barbara, if you're brainstorming already and you're asking yourself that question, not only do you have a masterclass, but then you can create a masterclass that is an item that you sell.
Yeah.
So definitely you're on the right track. You're thinking the right thing. And I love to hear that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I can't wait to hear everyone's examples next week. Again, no pressure. You know, we're going to drop it in the chat and you can talk if you want to. And if not, you can just sip your tea.
All right. Sounds good. Were there any other questions before we end for the day? All right. Well, thank you all so much. We're excited about next week. I think Alan will only be with us for part of next week. He has some amazing things going on with what he shared with you today that's happening. So you'll see him for part of next week, I think. Right, Alan? Is that correct?
Yes, the press conference at 1 o'clock will be via Zoom. So I can sit right here and hang out with you all for Marketing Outside the Box. Pretty much,
okay, cool.
Pretty much, halfway through it, and then just log into the other one at 1. So.
All right. Awesome. Well, everyone, please enjoy the rest of your day. I'm sure that all the numbing from my tooth is about to wear off, and I'll probably start to feel the pain.
I've already given strict orders for her not to,
me too.
not to do anything but rest.
Where are your meds? What's going on? Who's taking
That's right.
Yes, I'll be in bed for the rest of the day, but
Good.
Enjoy the rest of the day, and we look forward to seeing everybody next week.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye. Thank you.
Well, good job, Magley. I see Dominique left us, but good job. You get your rest, and I'll check on you tomorrow.
All right. See ya.
All right. Take care.
Bye.